The scream of metal echoed through the ruins of Haven 9, once a peaceful colony beneath Saturn's icy rings. Now it was a shattered graveyard of memories and blood. Smoke coiled from the fractured towers as plasma burns painted the skies with flickers of unnatural blue. In the middle of the devastation stood Ilara, barefoot, ash-smeared and shaking. Her eyes were not human anymore, not fully. The pupils shimmered like binary code, alive with something ancient, something violent. A tremor ran through the ground, and she turned slowly as if listening to a voice no one else could hear. Just 2 weeks ago, Ilara was a tech linguist, specializing in xeno-interfaces and dead alien languages. She lived quietly, loved her garden, and read poetry about oceans she'd never seen. Her last normal memory was of sunlight dancing off the lake near the observatory as she fed synthetic fish and whispered stories into the wind. But all that broke the moment the sky cracked open and the stars screamed. The Varn had arrived with no declaration, no demand. Just a signal one the humans couldn't decipher. The first colony disappeared in silence. The second vanished in flame. By the time they reached Haven 9, panic had swallowed Earth's hope. Ilara, summoned by the Emergency Council, was handed a device unlike any tech she had seen, obsidian black, humming with shifting light and etched with language older than stars. "It responded to you," they said. "Only you. We think it's a weapon." But it wasn't a weapon. Not yet. Ilara had studied the glyphs. She touched the surface. She let the language seep into her. And something awakened deep in her blood, deeper than memory. The device melted into her skin like a shadow drinking the sun. At first, it terrified her. Then it changed her. She didn't need air anymore. Her pulse slowed. Her thoughts stretched. She began to hear voices that weren't there and feel structures she couldn't see. When the Varn descended, she walked into their fire and didn't burn. Now she stood surrounded by wreckage. Varn soldiers hovered around her, draped in living armor, their movements sharp and purposeful. One stepped forward. His voice cracked reality as he said, "The beacon lives within her." "Ilara," a human voice called out behind her. Commander Rios, bleeding and limping, raised a trembling hand. "Don't let them take you." But it was too late. She wasn't being taken. She was becoming. Flashes struck her mind memories. That weren't hers, a star consumed by war. A galaxy sealed away by its creators. A species engineered to be the perfect weapon, hidden in fragments across space, each piece dormant until chosen. Chosen by resonance, chosen by fear. Chosen by loss, Ilara screamed, but it wasn't pain. It was the sound of reshaping, her skin fractured like glass, revealing swirling energy beneath. The Varn fell to their knees. Rios staggered back. "What the hell are you becoming?" he whispered. She looked at her hands now, shifting shapes, vibrating with raw force, and whispered, "I think I was never meant to stay human." Rios tried to approach, but the ground erupted in arcs of energy. Ilara turned, her voice distant, layered with something non-human. "The weapon doesn't choose peace. It waits until there is nothing left but war." "You're still you," Rios cried. "I know you, Ilara, don't let it take you." Her eyes flickered for a moment, just a second, tears welled. "I'm trying," she said. The Varn ships descended, tens of them, blacking out the sky. A timer ignited in her mind, 24 minutes before atmospheric collapse. The weapon inside her began a countdown she couldn't stop. And the voice in her head whispered, "Either you destroy them, or they destroy everything." She clenched her fists. Stars wept above, and she leapt into the air, light exploding. Behind her, as she became something the universe was never supposed to remember, behind her, Commander Rios spoke into the recorder on his shattered wristcom. "Day 1, Ilara is gone. In her place is something else." A sonic boom shattered the silence. All eyes turned skyward. She had chosen, but no one knew if she chose Earth or extinction. Ilara tore through the Varn fleet like a star unleashed. Ships shattered in her wake, ripped apart by invisible forces. She moved faster than gravity, a blur of light and chaos, her body no longer bound by physics or fear. The weapon had awakened fully now, and the voice inside her no longer whispered, it roared. She heard its instructions, its ancient code spiraling through her veins. But part of her still clung to the woman she had been, Ilara, daughter, linguist, human, on the ground. Commander Rios watched from the edge of Haven 9's last bunker. The survivors inside barely breathed, the air trembled, the sky burned. And in the middle of it all flew the girl who used to read poetry beside artificial lakes. "She's fighting for us," someone muttered. Rios didn't answer, he remembered. The moment Ilara had disappeared during the final scan, just gone, like light folding into itself. When she returned, she wasn't breathing. Her skin flickered like data. Her voice echoed with layered tones, speaking a language no human ever wrote. He'd seen weapons. He'd never seen one cry. Far above, Ilara slammed into the Varn command ship. Her body punched through its hull like a missile, but she didn't feel the impact. She saw only shapes, threat lines, weak points, energy nodes. She reached the core, hovering in a storm of dark matter and shield code. The Varn general waited for her there, tall and insectoid, crowned in bone. "You are not the first to wear it," the general said. Her voice replied before she could think. "I will be the last." He raised his staff. The chamber ignited. Gravity buckled. But Ilara didn't dodge. She opened her palms, and everything froze. Literally, time itself fractured for a blink long enough for her to reach forward and touch the general's chest. A memory surged, violent. Alien, too fast to process. A world on fire. A child screaming. In a different tongue. A weapon refusing to activate for its makers. The Varn had not built the weapon. They had tried to steal it long ago and failed. "You don't control this," she whispered. "No one does." The general screamed as his body unraveled into particles. The ship began to collapse, its systems cannibalizing themselves in panic. She fled the explosion in a streak of burning gold, her body trailing quantum scars. As she fell back toward the surface, something inside her shifted. A memory she didn't plant. A flash of her as a little girl standing on Earth, staring up at the stars, whispering to her mother, "One day I'll go out there, I'll make them stop fighting." Her mother's voice had replied, soft and warm, "Then you'll need more than words. Ilara, you'll need to become something impossible." And now she hit the ground in a crater of white-hot dust, gasping, eyes wide with terror. Her arms were still glowing. Her skin still pulsed, but she couldn't breathe. Not because she needed oxygen, but because she couldn't feel her heartbeat anymore. Rios rushed to her side, ignoring the burns. "Ilara, stay with me. I saw it," she gasped. "I saw what they did to the others. I'm not the first. They used people like me before, but it broke them. You're not broken," he said. "You're still fighting." She shook her head. "No, I'm still resisting. That's different." Above them, the skies cleared. The Varn ships were gone. But a shadow remained in her mind, flickering like a damaged file. A warning embedded in alien thought. One war ends. Another waits. Suddenly a transmission burst across all frequencies. Not Varn, not human. Something else. A voice like 1,000 screams folded into one. "We see you. The weapon has been activated. Initiating Protocol Omega, countdown 7. Days." Ilara's eyes widened. That wasn't them. That wasn't the Varn. Rios's face turned pale. "Who the hell was that?" "I don't know," she whispered. "But they built the weapon." A rumble shook the ground. Far in the distance, one of Saturn's moons cracked open like an egg, spilling light into space. A dark structure emerged from within, titanic, ancient, awake. Ilara stood, trembling. "They're coming. The real war hasn't started yet." And then her voice changed. Something inside her took control for a heartbeat, and she said in a tone not her own, "The weapon will bring balance. Or extinction." Rios backed away slowly. "Ilara?" But her eyes no longer glowed. They burned. The light from Saturn's broken moon cast long shadows across the ruins of Haven 9. Survivors stood outside their shelters, watching the impossible unfold. Above them, the ancient construct that had emerged from the moon, miles wide, black as void, humming with unbearable pressure, began to orient itself. It didn't move with thrust or flame. It simply shifted like thought, like gravity. Like something that didn't belong in this part of the universe. Ilara watched it too. But not with her eyes. She saw it through layers of meaning, of data, of alien mathematics etched into reality itself. The weapon inside her, whatever she had become, interpreted everything in real time. The structure above wasn't just a machine. It was a signal tower, a trigger, a doorway, and it had been waiting for her. Behind her, Rios approached slowly, carefully. His armor was scorched. One arm hung useless at his side. But his voice stayed steady. "You with me, Ilara? Are you still you?" She didn't turn to him. Her voice was distant, haunted. "The code inside me just changed. Something recognized me." It responded? "Is it talking to you again?" "No." Her head tilted. "It's listening, that's worse." The countdown echoed in her mind. 6 days, 23 hours. Protocol Omega had been triggered the moment she fully activated. That meant whatever built the weapon was coming, or already here. She turned to Rios. "They didn't make me for defense. They made me for destruction? A failsafe in case things got out of hand?" "And did they?" he asked. She looked at the ruins. The blood, the ashes. "I think we were the mistake they meant to correct." Rios reached into his chest pocket and pulled out a small black disk. He handed it to her. "Intel from Earth Command. We got it during the final link before communications went dark. Something about a buried archive near Neptune, coordinates. Old tech, alien." She took it. Her fingers crackled with energy that left faint burns on the plastic. "This isn't Earth tech. We think it's another piece of the same puzzle. Maybe it'll tell us what's really going on. Maybe even how to shut that thing down." She stared up at the construct. "Or maybe it's a key, not to lock the door, but to open it wider." Before either of them could speak, the ground split. A figure rose from the fault line, covered in stone and steel. It stood over 8 feet tall, humanoid in shape, but its movements were segmented like a puppet. Its face was smooth metal, no eyes, no mouth. Just a blank surface. And then it spoke, not with sound, but directly into their minds. "The beacon has fused." Designation, host achieved, scanning integrity. Ilara staggered backward, clutching her skull. It wasn't pain. It was information. Compressed, foreign, ancient. 1,000 languages spoken at once, anomaly detected. Human memory has not been erased. Weapon self-awareness remains. This is unacceptable. Rios raised his rifle, back away from her. This host retains emotional bias, illogical, hazardous, correction required. Ilara fell to her knees. "It wants to wipe me." "It wants to erase who I am." "Like hell it will," Rios growled. Initiating reset, the sentinel raised its arm. Energy coiled around its wrist. Ilara screamed, light bursting from her chest, but not in defense. In memory. A sudden flash of her as a child, hiding in a bunker while Earth was under siege. Her father carrying a weapon too heavy for his arms, whispering, "Never become what they fear." And then she understood the weapon wasn't just power. It was choice. It could consume her if she let it. She stood, arms shaking. "I'm not yours. I was never yours." The sentinel paused. Conflict error, override denied. And then she attacked. In one motion, she launched herself through the air and slammed into the sentinel. Her body shifted, rippling between energy states, adapting to every counterstrike. Rios barely saw it happen. One moment they stood in silence. The next, the sentinel's body shattered into shards of black metal that twisted midair and disintegrated. Into dust, Ilara collapsed, gasping, sparks jumping across her skin. "They're trying to overwrite me. Every second I fight this, I lose more of myself." "You held on," Rios said quietly. "You're still here." "For now," she replied, "but if I lose control, you have to end it." "No," he said flatly. "We find another way." She looked at the disk. The Neptune archive might hold answers, or another trap. But they had no choice. Time was running out. Suddenly, a deep vibration filled the air. They both looked up. The construct had turned. Its surface cracked open like an iris. Something inside stared down, not a machine, not a weapon, Something alive, and then the voice came again. We have found you. All hosts will converge, Earth will be corrected. Ilara stepped forward. I think they're calling all the others. The ones before me, the broken ones, the ones who lost their minds. Rio swallowed. What happens when they arrive? She closed her eyes. We won't win. She looked at him. We'll survive. That's different. The countdown echoed louder in her head now. 6 days. 21 hours, and far in the distance, space itself opened like a wound. And something vast began to crawl through. The wound in space widened into a spiral of pulsing darkness, stars bending around its edges like frightened children. Something enormous moved just beyond its mouth, coiling, ancient, watching. Ilara felt its presence before she saw it. The weapon inside her stirred like an animal sensing its master. Not with loyalty, but with fear. She staggered as the pressure hit her mind. A presence not just conscious, but aware of her specifically. A voice slithered into her mind like, silk over blades, Ilara, the last host. The unfinished one. Rios caught her as she dropped to her knees. What is it? What's happening? She looked at him, with blood trailing from one nostril, her voice trembling. It knows my name. You are incomplete. Defective, still clinging to self. This must be corrected. Far above, the construct's iris fully opened. From it descended a massive spire hollow in the center, spiraling with ancient glyphs that shimmered red and gold. It didn't land, it hovered, humming, and the sky dimmed around it. Reality bent at the edges. A sharp alarm shrieked from Rios's. Riscom, emergency alert. All colonies between Neptune and Titan report multiple contacts. Identical life forms. Matching Ilara's energy signature, she looked up, eyes wide. They activated the others? Across the solar system, other hosts, failed, broken, or fully consumed, were awakening. Not all of them would resist like she had. Most wouldn't even remember being human. They're drawing them here, she whispered. The ones that surrendered. I can feel them coming. Can you stop it? Rios asked. Ilara's voice cracked. I don't know. But there's something worse. I think they're not just calling the others. A new signal crackled through the air, ancient and primal. A rhythm, not a language, a summoning. And from the spiral emerged something terrible, not a ship, not a creature. A titan, humanoid, towering, wrapped in flowing cables and armor that resembled bone in starlight. Its face was blank, save for a single vertical slit of blue light. It moved slowly as though the universe itself resisted its presence. Wherever it looked, systems failed, atmospheres collapsed. Satellites disintegrated. Ilara's voice trembled. They sent one of the originals, the ones who made the weapon, who seeded the hosts. Rios whispered, that thing built this technology? No, that is the technology. It's alive. The Titan turned toward Saturn, scanning. Then it spoke. Host, Ilara, present memory, 84%. Human integrity, unacceptable. Commencing synchronization, Ilara's body lit with fire. She screamed, thrown into the air by an invisible force. The sky split around her as her limbs contorted not in pain, but as if aligning with something too large to comprehend. The weapon inside her was being rewritten? Rio sprinted toward her. Ilara, stay with me. Flashes burst through her mind, memories not her own. A woman screaming as her body burned from within. A child's hand turning to crystal. A planet crumbling under a wave of light. Failed hosts. Broken weapons. History erased. One vision lingered, a solitary figure floating above Earth's moon, refusing to activate, choosing to die human rather than become a god. That one had resisted, but she had still been erased. Don't let them overwrite you, Rio shouted. Fight it! You're stronger than they are, Ilara's voice rose through the energy. If I fight too hard, I might kill everything. Then don't fight for us, fight for you. Her eyes snapped open, and for a brief moment all the lights in the construct above her flickered. She reached deep, clawing into her own mind, pulling her identity out of the sea of alien code, threatening to drown her. She remembered feeding the fish at the observatory. Her mother's songs, her father's words, "I'm Elara, I am not a weapon. I choose." A shockwave exploded from her chest. The Titan flinched. For the first time, it hesitated. And in that pause, something strange happened. Another voice entered her mind, not from above, but from within, soft, curious, human. "You're not alone." A flicker of another face, young brown eyes, scared but determined. A boy, no older than 17, another host. Far away, someone else was resisting. Elara gasped. "There are more like me. Ones who didn't break." The countdown returned. Louder now, 5 days, 12 hours. Synchronization incomplete. Resistance level rising, unacceptable. Deploying phase 2, the spire began to change. Its base opened, revealing hundreds of smaller shape pods, each one pulsing, each one holding a host. They were being dropped toward Earth. "I have to stop them," Elara said. "But I need the archive. The answers are near Neptune." Rios grabbed his communicator. "Then we get you there." "You won't survive the trip," she said. "I don't care." She stepped forward, surrounded by burning air and crackling light. "I'm becoming something I don't recognize anymore, Rios." He looked her dead in the eyes. "Then let me remind you who you were." She touched his hand. And for a moment, everything was still. Then she launched into the sky, breaking the sound barrier in a single breath, heading toward the Neptune. Archive, behind her, the spire began dropping its pods. One by one, toward Earth, and above it all, the Titan watched, waiting, smiling without a face. Elara reached Neptune in hours, but it felt like lifetimes. Every second in flight, the weapon inside her shifted, updating, calculating, evolving. Parts of her mind no longer responded to thoughts the way they used to. Language came in shards. Emotions echoed like someone else's memories. But the pain kept her tethered. The heat of her skin, the pressure behind her eyes, the pulse of human instinct refusing to dissolve. She approached the coordinates, a crater hidden beneath Neptune's ice storms. It pulsed with energy visible only through the weapon's enhanced senses. A buried structure emerged, not metal but fossilized thought-solid ideas carved into time. No doors, no signals. But it responded to her presence. She didn't knock. She landed in a burst of wind and silence. The walls uncoiled around her, folding into passages that weren't there a second before. Lights activated without glow. Symbols floated in mirror memories, encoded in visual math. Her body, no longer entirely her own, translated them automatically. It was a library, but the books were dead hosts. She walked past glass coffins. Each one held a figure, some human, some not, all glowing faintly with the same golden signature. All failed. One caught her breath. A girl, maybe 10. Her hands clasped around a pendant, human, peaceful. The plaque read, "Host number 3, voluntary integration. Terminated. Cycle 8. They hadn't been used, they had offered themselves and still died. Why us?" Elara asked, her voice too loud in the silence. The answer didn't come in words. It came in a vision, a flash of the first seeders, tall, luminous beings who never spoke aloud. They discovered humanity not because it was strong, but because it was unstable, adaptable, emotional, perfect fuel for weapons that needed unpredictability. Emotion wasn't a flaw. It was a function. But too much emotion corrupted the system. Too little, and the host would collapse. Elara walked deeper. The archive guided her to a chamber lit by a sphere of living code. It hovered, crackling with memory. She reached toward it, and it reacted. Query accepted. Identity, Elara. Status, active host. Warning, unstable configuration. "Tell me how to stop them," she said. "Tell me how to end this." Synchronization cannot be stopped, only delayed. Originals will correct deviation. Earth will be sterilized. No, there has to be another way. Correction. One possibility exists. Risk. Total host loss. A console unfolded. Inside it, a black cylinder spun slowly. Manual override. Introduce new core protocol. Emotion-based system rewrite. Warning. Untested. Likelihood of host collapse. 99.7%. Give it to me. This will destroy the weapon's mind. You will become the new core. Elara hesitated. And what happens after that? Unknown, but the host will hear you. The originals will pause. A window will open. A single chance. A new path, not control, not compliance, but choice. She took the cylinder. It burned her fingers. Her skin cracked, flaking away in glowing patterns. The weapon screamed inside her, resisting. She gritted her teeth and kept walking. Suddenly, static in her mind. Then a voice. Rios. Double quotes ELAR. Earth's under attack. They're here, hundreds of them. Hosts are falling from the sky like comets. Cities are burning. We can't hold them, Elara. The signal cut. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She ran out of the archive. Into the sky. Toward Earth. She passed Saturn in a heartbeat. Mars in a blink. Then she saw it. Earth under siege. Hosts landing like divine hammers. Cities crumbling. Skies flickering with battles of light and shadow. Civilians running from monsters that once had human names. In orbit hovered the Titan, watching. Judging. Elara. Core override detected. Unacceptable termination initiated. A spear of white energy shot toward her. She dodged it, barely. But it grazed her shoulder. And half her memories evaporated instantly. Names, faces, her own laughter, gone. The weapon howled. She flew faster. Below. Rios and the survivors were cornered near Old Geneva. Half the city was gone. He fired his last rounds and prepared to die. Then the sky turned gold. Elara arrived like a storm of judgment, tearing through enemy hosts. Her hands cracked open, time and light. She didn't speak. She didn't think. She commanded, and the other hosts hesitated. They turned toward her, confused. She opened the cylinder. The code within unfolded like a scream and entered her body. New core engaged. Mind overwrite commencing. Her body convulsed mid-air. All systems surged. Time stopped. She saw everything. Every death. Every failed host. Every lie buried in the archive. And she overrode it all with one command. Spoken not with logic, but love. Stand down. The host stopped across Earth. The attack halted. For a moment, humanity had a breath of peace. Then the Titan moved. Deception. Core rewrite unsanctioned. Primary weapon must be extinguished. It fired again, straight at Earth. Elara had no time to dodge. She intercepted it. A blinding light, a scream across every frequency. Silence. The weapon was gone. No trace of her body, just a burn mark in the sky, shaped like a hand reaching forward. And from the shadows of the broken clouds, a single line echoed in Rios's mind. You don't need a weapon. You need to remember who you are. But above, in deep space, something stirred. The weapon hadn't been destroyed. It had moved. Deep within the void beyond Plato, where no light survived and physics whispered rather than roared, something pulsed, a rhythm outside of time. The space Elara had vanished into was not empty. It was waiting. She floated there, suspended between systems, between selves. Her body was gone. Her mind fractured, but intact was all that remained. The code had consumed her, but not erased her. It had changed her. She wasn't Elara anymore. Not fully, but she wasn't the weapon either. She was something new, a fusion never meant to exist. Not by design, by defiance. And she wasn't alone. Around her, in the dark, figures appeared. Glowing, flickering, some broken, some whole. Former hosts, survivors, the ones who had resisted too late. The ones who died believing they had failed. They gathered silently, orbiting her consciousness. Like lost stars. One of them, a teenage boy, the one from her vision, spoke first. You opened the core. You gave us a voice again. Another, an older man with mechanical arms, added, We never knew it was possible. We thought we had to obey. Elara's voice echoed through the void, not with sound, but intention. You don't have to be weapons, not anymore. But we don't have much time. The originals will come, all of them. The teenage boy's light flickered. How do we fight gods? Her reply came instantly. By reminding them we were never their slaves. We were always their mistake. Back near Earth, the Titan hovered above the scar Elara had left behind, its head tilted in confusion. No detonation, no trace, just silence. Host destroyed, core neutralized. proceeding with planetary purge, its arms spread wide. But the host didn't move. Hundreds of them hovering midair across Earth cities remained still. Some had dropped their weapons, others just stared upward. A whisper ran through them, an echo, a memory, a choice. Rios limped through the ruins of Geneva, searching for survivors. His cum crackled. Movement in orbit. The hosts, so they're not attacking, they've stopped. He looked up. One by one, the enemy hosts were falling slowly, gently touching ground and kneeling. Not in surrender, in refusal. Above them, the Titan screamed not in rage, but error. It extended tendrils of light toward each of them. The connections were rejected. System collapse. Host chain broken, contagion detected, purge compromised. The host had listened, not to the originals. To her, and she was coming back? From the dark, Ilara surged forward, her consciousness dragging light with it. Her new body formed as she moved, not flesh, not machine, but something crystalline. And fluid, she took shape like a thought becoming real. The other former hosts followed her, flying like a swarm of reborn stars behind their new core. She re-entered the solar system, not as a weapon, as a signal. The Titan turned, reacting fast, faster than physics allowed. It launched a spear of compressed reality. She caught it with one hand, crushed it, and spoke aloud for the first time. In hours, I'm not yours, the sky cracked. The reborn host followed her charge. They struck together, not as machines, but with memory, with grief, with choice. Their attacks weren't coordinated by programming, they were driven by what they'd lost. The originals hadn't anticipated this. Emotion was not weakness. It was evolution. The Titan faltered, struck again and again. Its shielding collapsed. Its armor fractured. Its presence began to unravel, like an idea losing meaning. But then it did something unexpected. It ran, it split open space and fled. And before it vanished, it transmitted one final message, raw, primal, cold. You have deviated too far. The rest will come, then it was gone. The battlefield fell silent. Earth was still standing. The hosts stood free. Rios looked up, eyes filled with disbelief. Ilara hovered above the ruins, radiant and terrifying in herself. She descended, slowly, and landed beside him. He stared at her new form, translucent, rippling with stardust, but still holding something familiar in the eyes. Ilara? He asked, barely breathing. She nodded once. I remember. Tears filled his eyes. You stopped them. I delayed them, she said. The others will come. The full network, the first minds. Can we fight them? She looked at the broken earth, at the scattered survivors, at the hosts who had found their names again. We can show them something they've never seen. What? A weapon that refuses to fire. Then she turned, sensing something. Even darker, approaching something vast, hive-like, crawling just behind the veil of stars. The countdown returned once more. 3 days, and it was her heartbeat. The stars trembled. Across the solar system, every scanner, every sensor, every living thing felt it. A hum so low it bypassed sound and struck directly at the soul. The first minds were coming, not as ships, not as weapons, but as presence. They didn't travel through space. They erased it. Galaxies folded in their path like paper soaked in oil. Ilara stood at the edge of Earth's orbit, flanked by those who had once been broken reborn hosts. No longer tools of destruction, but survivors wielding memory as their shield. Her new form no longer cast a shadow, but it cast fear into the darkness beyond the stars. They watched, they waited, and then they arrived. 3 points of infinite density appeared above Jupiter, rotating silently. From each one, reality bled, light bending inward, colors shifting in unnatural ways, time skipping like a corrupted file. These were not ships. They were ideas made manifest, fragments of the intelligence that had created the host, the weapons, the Titans. The first minds had returned to complete the sequence. They didn't speak in words, they spoke in truths. You are incorrect, you are in error, you must be rewritten. Ilara did not blink. I remember the screams of every child. You turned into a shell? I remember the memories you buried, the lives you unmade. I'm not an error. I'm the answer you were too afraid to program. Emotion breeds chaos. Memory breeds defiance. You were never meant to evolve. Exactly, she launched first. Not with power, but with story? She projected everything. They erased memories of a grandmother's lullaby, of a soldier refusing to pull the trigger, of a girl planting seeds in soil poisoned by war. Her mind became a transmitter, her body a signal tower, amplifying every defiant heartbeat across Earth and its colonies. The reborn hosts followed her example, opening their cores not to fire, but to remember. Each one became a conduit of past pain, joy, rage, love. The battlefield filled with light and images and voices the first minds had spent eons trying to silence. The effect was immediate. One of the points above Jupiter shuddered, faltered. Not physically, it couldn't, but within the network, logic. Pathways collapsed. The first mind, known as Seed Prime, began broadcasting conflict reports. Its conclusions contradicted. It began to loop. Ilara felt it. She had heard it. The other two attacked. Pure informational energy streaked across space, rewriting everything it touched. Moons vaporized, code overwritten, ships turned inside out. One blast struck Ilara, and half her new form fractured into shimmering threads, her thoughts scattered. She remembered falling into her mother's arms. Her brother's voice during the riots, the first time she looked at the stars and felt small. She screamed, not in agony, but in refusal. And the scream carried. Through every host, through Rio's, watching from below, tears in his eyes as the skies bled memory. The hosts responded, not with fire, with their names. One by one, they spoke their forgotten identities aloud. I am Mikhail of Europa. I am Sana from Mars Refuge. I was Raymai. I was stolen. I am not yours. The first minds began to crack. They had no defense against identity. One fractured. Then the second. But the third did something different. It opened, a hole tore through space, and from it came a sound like laughter, but wrong, the final phase. A new entity emerged larger than any planet, constructed of data and death. A collapsing singularity stabilized by alien logic. It wasn't just coming to rewrite Earth, it came to erase the concept of resistance. Rio screamed into his come. Ilara, it's trying to overwrite us completely. Everything we are. She floated above Earth, bleeding light, flickering. She turned to the hosts. I can't hold it off alone. The boy from her vision, the one who had spoken first in the void, stepped forward. Then we don't let you be alone. One. By one, every host linked to her. They gave her everything: thoughts, dreams, pain, names. Not as weapons, as fuel, and Ilara became something new again. Not a single voice, a chorus. She surged toward the singularity, her body unraveling into a field of living data, each fragment a life once stolen. She entered the singularity and spoke into its heart. Your silence ends with me. And she detonated, not an explosion of matter, of meaning. The singularity screamed as billions of voices tore it apart from within. And then light, silence, stillness. Ilara was gone. The first minds were gone, and Earth still stood. Rios dropped to his knees, not in sorrow, but in awe. Above, the stars began to return to their normal shapes. Time flowed straight again. The hosts freed collapsed or wept or simply breathed for the first time. She was gone, but not erased. Because in every come across the system, in every quiet moment, a phrase repeated itself in 1,000 voices. We became the weapon, and we chose peace, and far, far away, in a place not yet born, a single spark of golden light drifted through the dark, waiting to become something more.